So it's the last day, last session before the closing ceremony. There's still some people around interested in agent-based simulation of execution tickets. So before we wrap it off, we go deep again. Happy to be here. For everyone coming in, feel free to join in. Also because we are more of an intimate crowd. If you have questions, feel free to raise your hand anytime. Feel free to let me know if something is unclear. You can also ask questions via the QR code. Feel free to scan it. I try to have an eye on the Q&A as well if something comes in. Otherwise, I would say we start right off. The general structure is going to be half an hour of theory, a bit of background on this, execution tickets, quick wrap up, what's execution tickets again, then some research insights, what did we find in the agent-based simulation, and then the second part is kind of a, let's say, open-ended part about running the simulation, running the code on your own machine. I provide there some information how you can set it up, how you can run it, and I'll be around to answer questions, and then it's basically you can run it as long as you want, try different settings, run different settings. With this, I would dive right in. Maybe just as a quick recap, why do we care so much about MEV? Why is that a topic that everyone talks about? MEV boost payments since the merge, 1.7 billion US dollar. That's what has been paid out via MEV boost. So that's quite a big number. That's 2 million US dollar per day on MEV per average. So I think what concludes from that, at least for me, means we should be very deliberate how we distribute MEV, how we go about distributing it, what incentives it creates. $2 million per day, it's quite a lot of money. People go a long way to go around the protocol, do other stuff. So it's important to design a mechanism that really works, that is bulletproof. And one of the ideas to do this is execution tickets. The idea was first introduced by Justin late 2023 as a tester proposer separation, with the idea of separating the beacon, the consensus chain, from the execution chain, thereby kind of splitting off the consensus part, trying to isolate the consensus part, and having then the execution part that could be somehow differently allocated. And the idea to allocate it is basically the execution tickets, meaning the protocol itself auctions off or sells the tickets, which are then kind of lottery tickets to be chosen as the next execution block proposer. So as a builder, for example, if you want to propose a block, you buy an execution ticket, you get into the lottery, and if you're lucky, you get chosen to propose the next block. The idea of the randomization is to prevent multi-block MEV and liveness issues. If we would just auction off the block, for example, execution auctions, we have the problem that there could be multi-block MEV strategies where someone in advance buys a lot of blocks and then runs this MEV strategy covering multiple blocks in a row. Quick recap again, how was the process? Basically, without going too much into detail, the idea is that first the beacon chain runs. For the beacon chain, the selected proposer proposes the beacon prop, very similar to how it works right now. Testers vote on it. Probably some form of inclusion list will be involved as well to ensure censorship resistance. And then in the second round, the execution block is proposed by the holder of the chosen execution ticket. And then this proposer can propose the block, and this is also then from the testers validated to ensure timeliness and validity of the block. So when we look at execution tickets, at this mechanism, how to sell the block space, the execution block space that contains all the MEV, what are things to focus on? So in our research, we came up with 4 guiding research questions in this process. One of them was basically the meta question: what's the objective? What do we want to achieve? What's the goal of all of this? The second one going along is how do we measure it? If we have a goal and we can't measure it, it's hard to optimize for. Based on this was then the follow-up point: what are the possible mechanism design choices that we have? What's our option space? What's our design space? And then the last one is, if we run the simulation and do this, as a simulation based, what are actually the outcomes? How the different configurations score on this? When looking into the first question, what are our optimization objectives? We split it into, on the one side, the optimization parameters, then price behavior of the tickets, with the most important part being the 3 objectives that we categorized as: 1, decentralization. It's for one, decentralization of the consensus layer, beacon chain, which is very important, but also of the execution layer. For certain reasons, we don't want to sell all the tickets to one ticket holder. We want to have at least a certain degree of decentralization. The second point is MEV capture. The idea of selling the tickets is to also capture the MEV at protocol level. So we should optimize the mechanism for a design that actually captures the MEV at protocol level. And the last one is more coming from economic theory: block producer incentive compatibility. It means we have to incentivize block producers that propose a block to participate in the protocol in the first place. Because no one can be forced to do something, we have to incentivize people to join in. So we have to find a mechanism where people that participate profit from joining into the mechanism. On the price behavior side, we focused on price predictability, price smoothness, price accuracy, and then defined a couple of measurement metrics where I won't go too much into the details. There will be a paper coming out soon on it where we more go in depth how we define the metrics, but I think that goes a bit beyond the scope of a Friday afternoon. Then the next step was to lay out the design space. When laying out the design space, we had different parameters that we looked at. It was for one, the amount of tickets, how many tickets, execution tickets do we want to sell? Is it a fixed amount? Is it a flexible amount? What's the target amount of tickets? The second part is, should tickets expire? So when giving out the ticket, is it indefinitely running or does it expire at a certain point? Third part is about refundability and related to resellability. Can I give my ticket back to the protocol or not? And also, can I sell my ticket? We looked at it more from an theoretical perspective. On a technical perspective, it might be hard to restrict the secondary market, but on a theoretical perspective, you can also divide between allocated and unallocated tickets. But it's in our simulations, what we saw, it has quite a big of an impact if a secondary market is allowed or not. And then also look ahead period. Currently we have 64 slots look ahead. Should that be changed or not? And then also pretty relevant, the pricing mechanism. What kind of pricing mechanism do we use? In our setting, we looked at 4 different pricing mechanisms, 2 auction formats, first price auction and second price auction, and 2 quoted price formats, an adapted version of an AMM, and similar to EAP 1559 style mechanism, and use this in the simulation to see how the market behaves. Then the next step was we ran the simulations. I didn't go through all the 6 specified configurations that we have. I think that goes a bit beyond the scope, but basically what we did is, we set up a first price auction and the different other formats, configurations, where we mixed and matched together kind of the attributes that we can have and tested it. Some of them are pretty close to the current setup, for example, the just-in-time second price auction, slot auction. Some of them, as the later ones, are more experimental. The idea was to see a bit what's the impact, impact of each of these parameters on the outcome of the simulation, what's the impact on our metrics if we run it. In theory there are more than 500 combinations to be run, so we could go on for a long time running different ones. We choose a bit, some of them more as examples than trying to run a holistic simulation of all of the possible configurations. In the solution then, or running it, what we saw is on the different metrics. I hope you can read it, but the summary, what we can see is that on the decentralization metrics, it's pretty hard to get to a good result. What we see is we have a pretty strong focus on centralization in this market. However, on the other metrics, depending on the configurations, we see that a lot of them score pretty good. There are some outliers we'll go a bit deeper into in a second. But there are configurations that have a very high MEV capture, have a high price predictability, and so on. To go there one step deeper, or actually as just mentioned, decentralization as one of the goals. So decentralization, to be precise here, of the execution chain is pretty hard, remains hard. We tried a lot of different configurations. However, the problem that we have, it's also consistent with the theoretical literature, that you're doing an ex-ante pricing. So you're basically pricing your execution ticket on an expected value in the future. You expect what the value will be in a day, in 7 days, which means you're kind of using the mean. You're using the mean or your expected value. And this leads to one ticket holder, one block builder, who has on average the highest intrinsic value, has on average the highest bidding value to win most, if not all, of the auctions. So what happens is that kind of the specialization effects that you have right now, where in certain time periods, certain builders are more specialized on high or low volatility environments. This is kind of smoothed out due to working with expected values, which leads to this strong centralization, which also in the meantime a lot of theoretical papers have shown that this most probably is the case. However, what we saw in the simulation, which is pretty interesting, is that the secondary market reduces this effect, because what happens is that the ticket holder, the buyer with the highest average expectation, buys the ticket. However, then sells it on the just-in-time secondary market. And on the just-in-time secondary market, there might be other builders or other participants that have a higher value just for this specific slot. It can be due to proprietary order flow. It can be due to volatility effects. It can be due to different other factors. But there we saw that actually the secondary market leads, at least in the redemption of the tickets, to a lower centralization. On the second main objective, capturing MEV at the protocol level, we actually saw that in a lot of simulation we get to quite promising results. We get to values somewhere between 70 to 90% of the theoretical MEV that exists captured at a protocol level. We can see here one exemplary chart where we see there's a certain level of theoretical MEV. Part of it is captured by the ticket holders, and then quite a high part is captured at protocol level as well. On the pricing formats, what we saw also quite interesting is that actually auction-based formats work pretty well. So more specifically, we tested sealed bid first price auction and sealed bid second price auctions, which both got similarly well results. There was slight differences, but overall pretty similar. And also the AMM style pricing worked pretty well. However, was with a bit of a lag because it always adapts kind of afterwards, but adapts pretty fast. While the 1559 style pricing had significantly lower MEV capture. I'll go also a bit into problems of this in a second. So overall, summing it up on the two main objectives, decentralization is difficult, MEV capture works well with the mechanism in different configuration, different designs. Just a bit of a deep dive on the EIP 1559 style pricing. So basically how we set it up in the simulation, very similar to the standard EIP 1559 pricing, is that after each slot it was looked at how many tickets have been sold. If a lot of tickets have been sold, the price increases. If no ticket has been sold, the price decreases, which has, from the mechanism, the inherent problem that you're only looking at it after the fact, and you kind of have fast changing demand, as MEV in general doesn't. If you look at the data, it doesn't have phases of high and low MEV, but there's this fast reversion to the mean. So you're pricing it too late in a way to when you want to price it, which leads to oscillating pricing effects. So actually the price starts to fluctuate stronger and stronger to a point where it first overshoots, then it undershoots, and then it overshoots even stronger because it always kind of has this too high latency. So this, from our perspective, we tried it with the 12.5% adjustment factor, but even if we go there to 50% or 100% or lower to 5%, we only found a few settings where the price stabilizes. It works, but it really depends on the attributes of the ticket holders, which makes it not very stable, which makes it pretty fragile. So at least in all the implementation settings that we found, it is not a good pricing mechanism for execution tickets. So that was quite interesting because also in a lot of the theoretical discussions, it was frequently mentioned as one of the useful pricing mechanisms. But I think from what we saw so far, auction-based pricing or kind of an AMM style or adapted AMM style pricing makes more sense for execution tickets. A few more findings on the other attributes talked about, fixed versus variable amount of tickets. What we saw is it depends a lot on the mechanism as well. For AMM or 159 style pricing, you of course need to have a flexible amount of tickets. For other formats, it could make sense to have a more fixed amount of tickets. Expiring tickets, it was actually interesting when on the agent side implementing their optimal bidding strategy. If you have expiring tickets, it makes things a lot more complicated because you have to take into account when does each ticket expire, how many tickets are in the pool, how many slots are allocated already, what's the look ahead. So it makes pricing a lot more complicated without having a lot of benefits. So our preliminary conclusion was that it doesn't really make sense to have it. Similar for refundability, we saw that it adds complexity without adding too much value to the mechanism design, because it's, depending where you set it, either you create arbitrage opportunities for ticket buyers, or it's just an kind of inferior secondary market. And on the secondary market, we saw that actually allowing the secondary market helped a lot more with creating decentralization due to the fact that in the just-in-time secondary market, specialized ticket holders can buy tickets, and so even though it has some disadvantages, I think it makes sense to plan for a design where a secondary market exists. And also the second part about it is, from a technical side, it's really hard to prevent a secondary market because, yeah, it's decentralized, it's anonymous, people can create a lot of different IDs, so there's almost no way to avoid ticket holders to sell their tickets anyway, or sell the slots. I mean, it could be that the ticket holder runs kind of a MEV boost auction just for the slot that he get assigned to via execution tickets. Good, that was the theory part. There's a lot more to say. I didn't go too much into all of the economic properties of execution tickets, but that could be covered as well. But I wanted to leave enough time also for the workshop part. I put in the question, do we need a break? But I think I would not do a break right now, only if someone says, hey, I need a pause. Otherwise, I would go straight into the workshop part. Maybe just the quick question, are there questions right now? Any questions on the theory so far, on execution tickets, on our results?
I know you said it's out of scope, but what prevents centralization from occurring in the secondary market?
I think it happens to a certain degree, but what we saw in our simulations, that you have, for some specific environments, you have you have builders that are very specialized, for example, on stacks arbitrage in high volatile environments, and they might not be the most competitive builder on average, but they are competitive in certain slots in certain environments. So what we saw is you still have centralization, but it's a bit less. It's like the market now. Let's put it that way. You still have kind of an oligopoly, but it doesn't worsen to the market that we have right now.
Hi, good summary. Has there been any work done on how exclusive order flow is going to be, I guess, a winning advantage for some people in the execution tickets environment? And do you have thoughts on exclusive order flow in this setting?
Yes, I think we didn't, in the simulation, we didn't model exclusive order flow explicitly, but I think as in the market right now, it would be one of the winning factors. Having exclusive order flow gives you an advantage in bidding for the tickets. It allows you to bid for, at a higher price. On average, I think you would still have the fact that if a secondary market is enabled and someone else also has exclusive order flow, for them the pressure builds up to bid. So we did some multi-slot analysis, and what you see there is that over time prices go up. And one of the theories that we haven't proven yet is that for, let's say you have one winning bidder who has the highest value, but you have a second bidder that also has exclusive private order flow, that needs to place their block at some point in time. So there is an incentive of kind of as long as the exclusive order flow doesn't only go to the one monopolist, it creates a pressure for having different block builders for a row of slots. And I think that is pretty similar for execution tickets, that each builder that has exclusive order flow needs to buy a certain amount of tickets to ensure inclusion of their order flow. However, if you have one builder, ticket holder that has the best order flow, they will probably still dominate the market, at least to a certain degree.
Any more questions? I think we are good.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Then Yeah, I quickly go through the workshop setup. As said, it's pretty open, so the general idea is I just run through it, I run through how it works, and then everyone can, yeah, self-guided set it up. I have also online a setup guide that explains a bit how everything works. Yeah. First step, download and run the simulation. So make sure that it works on your machine. Should be pretty simple. I tested it with some people. But yeah, that's the first step. Second step is design another configuration, mix and match the parameters, and then run it, test it. And if you want, I have set up a Notion doc where you can share results. You don't have to just if people feel like they found a very good simulation or simulation configuration that they want to share with the group. On the simulation, here on the right, you can see the general setup of the code. I used a Redcat simulation framework in Python. The high-level logic is, in the first step, it updates the market metadata, so such stuff as slot number, MEV, the slot, which is randomly generated based on historical distributions. In the second step, ticket holders can buy tickets, depending on what mechanism is chosen. There are different ways to buy the tickets. If a secondary market is enabled, that runs in the third step, and the last step is redemption of tickets, where the ticket that got allocated to the slot is redeemed. The ticket holder gets the MEV of the slot, and the ticket is burned in a way. Just very quickly on the file structure, there's one major Python notebook where most of the logic runs in. I've set it up in Google Colab, so it's pretty easy to share and run. There are a few support classes, the models, the data models, purchase functions on buying the tickets, and some support functions, utils, statistics. And there's also a results folder where all results are stored. They're just a quick primer. If you run it on a large setting, results can get pretty large because Redcat stores a lot of very granular results. Other than that, on the agents, ticket holders, they are modeled after the current block builder market. You have top builders, medium, and tail builders that get randomly allocated different capabilities, such as MEV, capturing abilities, aggressiveness, initial funds, and their discount factor, however, that's used less. Where can you, or what can you adjust? There's a sysparams file where all the information is in. That's in the second cell. If you go into the notebook, could be, should be easy to find. Other than that, the time steps, how many rounds you want to simulate, how many runs you want to do in parallel. In the beginning, I would recommend to do one run. Otherwise, it can take a while. So there. Main message is sysparams is the place to adjust the parameters of the simulation. If you want to go, really deep, then you can also adjust the bidding mechanisms, how ticket holders buy tickets, and much more in terms of how the auction runs and so on. But for the beginning, I would just adjust the sysparams, and with this basically. Link to the Notion docu where you can find the setup guide. I think the main important info is to access the Google Colab notebook, which you can find the link in the Notion docu. To copy it, it's pretty easy. You go to File, save a copy in my drive. You store the copy of the notebook in your drive, and then the second part is to download the rest of the code from the Google repo. It's ephema/et simulation on GitHub. You download the code, you move the code to the Google My Drive root folder. That is important because the notebook needs to access the support classes, and then you should be able to run the simulation via runtime run all. Hopefully pretty straightforward, and then you can adjust and run the simulation, adjust a lot more code, and I hope it makes sense. And then you can design your own configurations, run your own setup on execution tickets, and see what results come out. I leave this here, so you have the links, and feel free to ask me any questions on it. Feel free to ping me also now or afterwards. Also for the people in the live stream, that's better to ping me afterwards. Also, if people run it later, my contact details are in the end. I'll share all of this with you, and you can use, I think the best is to use the Notion and go through it to set it up. Awesome. Then, any questions for now?
Any questions, guys? Yeah, we are good.
Thank you.
I think the real trouble starts when they download the repo and try to install it. The real trouble starts with the repo. Probably we should have started like, good, guys, install it.
Yeah, maybe next time that's the first step, then everyone has half an hour to download it and run it. But I hope, it should be pretty straightforward. Yes. Is it on? Yeah, I think I'll turn off the microphone for now, and if people have questions, just let me know. I come around.